Welcome back to the Tavern, friends. Before you recruit some new minions for the battle, let me welcome you to episode 32 of Tavern Tales, a Hearthstone Battlegrounds podcast. I'm your host, Simply Drunk, and on tap tonight, we will be diving into our post-patch reflections for 18.4.2, and we will take a look back at this past weekend's EMEA Battlegrounds Cup, which took place over like the past 3 days in a pretty interesting tournament given the current Battlegrounds patch. Now, before we get into the news and introduce you to my co-host, let me just quickly take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch at our new time, or day technically, not new time, but thank everyone out there for joining us for our live show, and of course, thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host, Edinar. And Ed, it's been a week. You know, we've had, well, honestly, it's a shorter week, since we switched from Thursdays to Tuesdays. So a little bit of a shorter break or span in between shows here, and we've started to get a feel for the current patch, and,
it's a new
thing.
patch. It's a patch.
Yeah.
I mean, is it just me, or are we getting into the territory of like absurd board state early, like we had when Eudora and Hook Tusk were the meta?
Yeah.
Like, I feel we're in that state. Like, turn 7, you're just like, all right, I'm screwed. I mean, Celissa had the perfect video today that came out where she got Dejani turn 5. Like, what now? What? But it happened, and then she just proceeded to wipe the floor with everyone. And
As expected.
it's just, yeah, it's just and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but let's talk about our weeks in Battlegrounds before we go into our ranting and raving about the current meta of the Hearthstone Battlegrounds scene.
I wouldn't particularly say that I'd be raving about it, but to each their own. So rough start. Definitely that the first couple of sessions on 18.4.2. I think going into our last episode, I was at 6078. I had fallen to that 6K floor probably at least 3 or 4 times since Thursday. Right now, I ended the night at 6189 as of last night, and it's been an adjustment. And not an easy one. Going back to the last patch, I really felt like I was starting to find my stride. And then this patch is just Hyrule City. Like, there are so many elements in this current patch, and some of those can definitely get abused more due to group mechanics, due to the genie, which we'll talk about here momentarily. But it was kind of interesting though, looking back at how an event for the most part was kind of dictated by an individual and a specific minion. So we've definitely gotten to see when something within the game is broken, that is supposed to be like I wouldn't say necessarily a buff, so to speak, because it was alternated with Little Ragnaros when they swapped him to 6 and Genie down to 5. But Genie right now is currently bugged. And it's definitely made it a situation where if you are like leveling like greedily, and if Genie is your 5 option, you immediately take it because the amount of times that is going to work in your favor over literally any other like archetype defining minion in the game in its current state Like, it's just night and day difference between the two. Like, the amount of potential you get from Genie right now in its state grossly outweighs anything else in Battlegrounds in any other Tavern tier. That's to the extent that where we're at. So it's kind of created the situation where, in the couple of games that I have played Rag, uh, with that, one turn differential with the Sulfuris activation, I have been getting knocked out
Yep.
the turn of it being activated, regardless of what my board state is, and even if I was feeling good about my board state. Like, it's been absolutely crazy, and, those first couple of days, it really did feel like, well, I'm not really finding the high roll potential as good as my opponents, and there were a lot of situations where, I was getting knocked out between turns like 7 to 9. Like, it's been rough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like just before we recorded this podcast, um I actually played a game with Reg, and yeah, I took 7th place because I just couldn't get Sulfuris to activate quick enough. And that is that is a much bigger nerf to it than going to +3/+3. Um, is that whole thing? It just is. It feels like forever. Truly, it really does. Because like before, you were lucky. You're like, all right, sweet. Best case scenario, I get it turn 7. And now you're like, best case scenario, I get a turn 8, but more than likely, you'll probably get a turn 9. And that is just too late. That is too late for a hero power to become effective. So we did see a dip in his overall score, which I'm happy for, and he's still good. He's just like, be cautionary. You need to build your boards differently early on to try and maximize your chance of getting Reg to trigger on turn 8. You need beefy minions on the board. Like, that's all it is you just need, if you get like the 2/4 homunculus on turn 1, buy that immediately. Things like that think like, to be honest, think about not leveling up turn 2 to guarantee a kill on turn 2, and then level up on 3, and so on and so forth, depending on your board states and everything like that.
To be honest, like, I have been sticking to the normal leveling curve that I had been using with Ragnaros. And knowing that there's 5 extra minions, if someone does scam you, in the sense that they're selling off their board, it is absolutely, pin coming undone as the Ragnaros player now. As opposed to before, there's still a very good likelihood that you would be able to activate your Sulfuris still within a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, I'm looking at HS replay right now, and more people, like, the percentage of people who are going to turn tier 2 is higher on turn 4 than it is turn 2.
Okay. I think before it was turn 3 was a normal spot.
Yeah, and stuff like that. It's a very unique build. Like, it is different than what you normally see. And the perfect way I can describe this is, it is the only hero in tier 1 or tier 2 outside of Lord Jaraxxus, who you have to play demons with, whose best class is big demons. And its number 2 is mechs, because you're getting the divine shields. It's not like everyone else is like elementals or dragons. So it's, I think Reg right now is in a good place. It's just, you have to play it a little differently than what you used to.
And just to clarify, it's talking about like the top 20% for the threshold for MMR.
Yeah, it's just like it is no longer, hey, I'm gonna automatically be top 4
Hmm.
no matter what. Like you actually have to earn your spot in the top 4 because the way things are panning out now, if you're not in top 4, you're not even going to get to use your hero power because you're knocked out of the game along with 3 other people because you're in the bottom 4 by turn 9. So it's like it's definitely an interesting hero now. I like it a lot better than it was before, but before it was just so dominant that
Hmm.
it was ridiculous.
I still wish it would have stuck at 20 and then just nerfed the scaling by half.
Yeah, gone to
Um,
+2+2. That would have been nice.
but like I'll be honest though, like when we're talking about like the average placement, I was expecting a little bit more of a blow. Like Ragnaros honestly didn't fall an egregious amount over like some of the other heroes so far.
I mean, like what, like it was at 2.98 average placement, and it's now at 4.14.
But I was
That's
talking more
pretty
about like tiers.
tier
Because it was at
tier
tier
wise,
one,
yes.
and now it's still okay. It's still tier one.
It's still tier
it's more.
one.
It's more of that, you know.
Yeah, it's no longer tier. I'm gonna automatically
Tier
get top
SS. Yeah.
3, and I'm just like, it's no longer tier S. It's
Hmm.
tier Ragnaros. Like that's what we're gonna call anything that hits that level is tier Ragnaros.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to see like who has had the most to gain from Ragnaros suddenly
Mm-hmm.
having that extra turn delay here, and it was actually Forest Warden Omu who is the currently highest or lowest average placement, within the battlegrounds right now. And like you're looking at that and you're like, wait, really? But yeah, it's kind of due to the bug in the game, honestly, like because people are being very greedy with their leveling more so than before. And anything that makes
Mm-hmm.
you level quicker allows you to get to that point that much quicker. So Omu currently at 3.96, and it is a lot of it has to do with the current bug within the game revolving around Gentle Genie. Now, as we talked about on our last show, they did the old swapperoo between Gentle Genie and Little Rag. So Genie went from tier 6 down to tier 5. Also, they, nerfed the stats on it to be closer to like the tier 5 minions. Rag went from 5 to 6. Also, with the stat adjustments. What we didn't see coming, Ed, was the fact that Gentle Genie, regardless of what Tavern tier you are on, can trigger tier 6 minions with the death rattle.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, like the amount of times I have been watching streams or during the EMEA Battlegrounds Cup where there was an early genie and those first couple of hits are constantly Little Rag, Amalgadon, or even like Lieutenant Gar was probably like it felt like at least 80%. It
Yeah.
was almost a guarantee, and it just made it where, regardless of what your offerings are at that tier, if you see a Gentle Genie, you're making room for it because of the
Yes.
amount of snowball potential that it can create. Now I was looking at like, okay, we know it's broken, but how is it like play impact wise compared to some of the other key pieces in the game? So I was looking at. Now we'll do top 20% again. Genie's currently third, only behind Amalgadon, which has a play impact of 0.35. Uh, well, that's okay. So that's combat win rate. It is looks like it's third overall or second overall. Same with the play impact. So like you speed out Crackling Cyclone, which is a really good, tier 3 drop. But it's just the fact that it allows you to unlock those pivot points as early as tier 4, if you happen to luck into Genie as that first triple at that point within the game. And, the amount of times I've gotten burned by it, let alone if you have like a Baron Rivendare with it, has far exceeded the amount of times I've actually gotten to play it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
either like you get Genie or you bust.
Yeah, it's definitely had the unintended consequences. I think when the next patch will fix it
Mm-hmm.
to where you can't get tier 6 minions. Um Now we do have other ways to cheat out tier 6 minions early, but it's completely random. I'm looking at you, um Shifter. Stuff like that. But if you also look at it like I forget the name of the Murloc, the
Primal
battle
Fin.
cry Primal Fit. That actually used to be something where you could discover Amalgadon on it. And
Mm-hmm.
and then this was at tier 4. You could still discover, Amalgadon on it, and they changed that. So I think they're going to change this. I don't think they saw it as quite big of a problem as it actually has become. But yeah, it's pretty busted right now. I think it goes to show that I mean elementals right now are a problem. I think the power creep on them is a bit too high, and this makes that power creep even higher.
Right.
They flip flop the wrong two cards in my opinion. I think I said this last week. I think Gar should have been tier 5, and Genie should have been tier 6, stayed tier 6. But I do notice some scaling problems that could occur with Gar in tier 5. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how they handle this. And a lot of this could go away too when elementals are removed from guaranteed to be played in every round.
Mm-hmm.
It could become less of an issue. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, it's a definite problem.
Yeah, and
Definite problem.
the other unfortunate aspect about that is it grossly outweighs everything else that's kind of been brought in with this last patch because you're not technically playing on even playing fields. It's like even if you are going to check out some of the other hero balance changes, it kind of feels like the deck is played against you at this point. Like I anytime I got a hero that had been tweaked in 18.4.2, regardless of where my rating was at, or if I was at the floor or not, which was pretty 50-50, I'll be honest, I would be choosing that hero. So, I checked out the Sindragosa changes. I tried Mukla. Uh, that didn't really take that well, even and like the 20% opportunity to get in a big banana for those extra +1/+1 on the board.
Yeah, I've definitely played. I've seen Muklas in a lot of my games, and
Mm-hmm.
they never do well.
No.
Like Mukla is still Mukla. Let's be real,
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah, I think out of all the notable changes, now granted, I don't have a giant sample size, but I think I did the best with Sindragosa out of the lot, which was interesting. And for whatever reason, I've done slightly better with Alikir in this newer patch compared to the last one, because that was a character that I was just struggling to really understand. So
Yeah,
I don't know why suddenly that changed. Like I haven't really been abusing anything, but just interesting to see what
I mean,
differential just one patch can make.
Sindragosa took the biggest jump in my mind in overall power because I mean, Sindragosa now is a tier 2 minion
Mm-hmm.
or a tier 2 hero. Um, So, it may have been a little bit more drastic. Now we don't have a massive sample size. So let's be real about that.
Right.
Give it another week and we'll see where we're at. But Syndragosa definitely popped up there into the tier 2 range. And I think that's really good. I still don't get how Jandis is up there.
Okay. So we kind of brushed up on some of the other like minion elements that you can kind of add for like the swapping aspect of the hero power. And I know last week I was talking more about like the menagerie, jug, and mug. The thing that I have been seeing more and more, and this was also one of the go-tos in regards to the EMEA Cup, was the use of swapping. Okay, two things. Early on, we're talking, tier one, abusing token generators. So you're talking your Alley-Cat, you're talking your Tidecaller. So in a lot of
Yes.
situations, the Janus was staying on one in order to get like those early triples.
Yes.
More like later in the game, and I'm talking like more Tavern 5 at this point. If demons were in the lobby, a lot of people were gravitating towards Battle Masters. So it would kind of be forcing, these players, and like obviously it worked better if like Murlocs weren't in the lobby. But even then, like, they were just constantly building that extra health over time, and they were just kind of using that as their tank, so to speak. Not an actual
Yeah.
like taunt, but enough to like soak up enough of the damage in order for your board to do more of the cleanup. In that case, so it's
And that's a very risky thing to do because you have to take a lot of damage for it to work to be really a thing.
mhm.
But then you also have to rely on getting a battle master early on.
Right.
So it's one of those things. I get that aspect of it, but I mean I feel dragons might be better for this than like the battle masters. But that again, that requires the Caligos. It requires the high end tier minion.
Mhm.
Just like elementals, I can see being pretty good with her, but you need, I mean, to really make it truly crazy effective, you need a little rag, um, to do something like that. So I don't, I still don't see it, and I don't think I ever will if she stays where she's at the top of tier two. I just it in my mind, it just doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
And I don't think anything anyone says about it will make me change my mind that it just doesn't make sense.
Well, you just haven't been able to abuse the generators as much as some of the other players.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, because the other aspect of that too is normally when they're doing that, there are situations where they would freeze for a turn in order to pick up the buy in order to make sure that they're getting a minion like a tier up because they
Yeah.
choose to level the next turn as
Yeah.
well.
By the way, I also have a theory about your Alakir.
Okay.
Okay, so right now everyone is forcing elementals, correct? Like you see it, like there's a lot of people
I
like who
wouldn't
are
say that necessarily, but
maybe not forcing, but they're gravitating
once
towards
you
it.
get to 4, then I do start to see more and more people gravitating towards that.
But I mean, with Alec here, I mean, let's be real. The best build for Alec here is probably Beast.
Yeah.
And I took a look, and the only other hero that best composition is Beast is Illidan, and Illidan is the bottom of tier 4.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's taking the best of a class that like it's taking a warband that is not often used and making the best of it using that,
Yeah.
because like cave hydras are honestly not something that you see all that often anymore because you're not seeing that many beast builds. I think it works a little bit more with if you get Alakir or if you get Rag. Rag with the Hydra is pretty good because every turn you're buffing the Hydra.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like Alakir is probably outside of Rafam, because I just love free cards. Uh, is probably my favorite hero in the game right now.
I mean, I
I
think.
like I love Alakir's like kit.
Hmm. I think in my case too, I have noticed that I think I've had Alec here in like 2 or 3 games since the patch, and each game I did manage to triple my Macaw, which really does help. Now, in a couple of those, I struggle to find like the Hydra or the Gold Rin.
Mm,
So I was having to rely more on the use of a selfless hero in order to, give my minions Divine Shield, which worked to, kind of varying degrees since, they moved selfless hero up to tier 2 at this
yeah.
case. But there's been a lot of situations where I just haven't really find either like those key defining end game pieces or ones that have the ability to spawn more minions on the board. So like I haven't been finding the overkill one that spawns the. I can't remember what the name of the generator is, but the tier 4 minion, I believe it is.
No, wait.
Or
Are
tier
you
5.
talking about Net Pagel?
No, for beast builds.
Oh.
I'm trying to remember the name of that damn card.
Ironhide Grunt?
Yeah, yeah, that's the one.
Okay, that's tier 5.
Okay.
That needs to be moved to tier 4.
Yeah, so like it's been a mixture of me not being able to find Goldrin and then Ironhide, and then that's really been like the difference maker between whether or not I'm going to get second because I'm not winning the lobbies because I'm not
Mhm.
outscaling some of the elementals in play, or
Oh
fourth.
god.
So it's just like it's one or the other.
Yeah. It's you know who I'm actually surprised has not become bigger?
Who's that?
And I'm not saying like become better as a hero, like top tier 1, but like not like second worst hero in the game is Nefarian.
Okay.
Because like the big killer with elementals is that the damn Mega Wind Fury. Or Wind Fury tripled Mega Wind Fury. Like getting rid of that freaking Divine Shield
Mm-hmm.
would be amazing. So like I'm surprised he's not actually better than he actually is right now.
I'm wondering if that's primarily just because there hasn't been as much mech synergy, or knowing that like Divine Shield builds are starting later than they were prior. Like I feel like it's a bunch of like compounding issues that have constantly kind of kept Nefarian down fairly low, just because you're
Yeah.
not really getting the full utilization out of that hero power to clear the Divine Shields.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Like if mechs were bigger, I think maybe Nefarian would jump up a little.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where I was just surprised to see it second from the bottom, just above Galakron. So
Yeah, and I have to say, like, so far, I've played Shinvala a couple of times. And I'll be honest, none of those games have went well. But I've been playing the game of how much can I greed and how quickly can I greed. And there have been
fair.
times where I've been tier 5 by turn 7. And then I just lose because I don't have enough time to fill out my board at that case. But man, like when you get those like early elemental starts, you're just like,
Mhm.
I'm all
Like
for the
what was
races.
it? I saw on Reddit that on turn 5 or whatever, it was somebody posted their Shinvala and they had 3 Elementals on the board, like in Bob's Tavern,
Mhm.
and they're like, "This is the dream play," and I'm like, "You're not wrong."
Mhm.
Like, so it's super high reward with super high risk. Because of right now, and Shinvala I think is one of those heroes that will, like Shenvala is tier 4 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think Shenvala will climb up a little bit, maybe to tier 3, middle top of tier 3, once elementals aren't in every game and everyone's trying to go for elementals now because there's still the new hotness.
Yeah, like the game
I
that
think it might creep up a little bit.
Yeah, the game that I played, I got knocked out on turn 8, and at that point, I was tier 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finished in 7th. Oh well.
Yeah.
But definitely.
Patchwork is in tier 3.
Mm-hmm.
That 5 extra health does the body good. It's like milk. Not that 2% shit. Whole milk. No, it's not tier 1, so it's like 1% milk.
Mm-hmm.
If he was tier 1, then it'd be whole milk. But now he's at 1% milk. He used to be at 2. I have no idea why I'm going on milk references right now, but you know what? Just go with me.
And then if you're playing the variant, it's more like spilt milk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or we'll call it tier 4. All right, no. Better reference. Tier 4 almond milk. Okay? Tier 4 is almond milk. Tier 3 is 2%. Tier 2 is 1%. Tier 1 is whole milk.
Okay.
That is the milk tier list of Battlegrounds heroes.
Okay, perfect.
See, I do what I do. This is the quality content you come to this podcast for.
Yeah. Outside of that, I did actually finally get to try Rakanishu for the first time. I
still have never picked Rakanishu.
As our podcast rivals, we do tend to frequent visiting, the Bob's Tavern Discord. And I keep seeing Jay, posting these Rakanishu screenshots at, 5k MMR, being like, oh, another first place. And I was like, I'm not buying it, right? So, I think
quit fooling everyone, Jay.
My options during this game weren't that great. I wonder if I have that game recorded on Omni Slash so I can tell you what my mulligan was. Just because for whatever reason, there are times when I forgot to actually put that on, so it doesn't actually track. But anyways, I know a lot of my options were tier 4, so I was just like, all right, what the hell? Let me try it. Let me see what happens, because you and I kind of had the same gripe with the hero power, where for the cost, you don't really feel like you get the value out of it until really late in the game, or higher tier up.
Exactly
is when you really start to see some. So I played one game. I got second. so it wasn't terrible. But I ended up getting knocked out, I think, on turn 15. And at that time, that was when I went to Tavern 6. But, there was a streak there where, when I got towards the late game, I'd won 5 or 6 rounds in a row. And I feel like a lot of that hero just comes down to abusing Divine Shields more than anything. So you're looking to really get the value out of that, more so over the cleaves or anything in that particular fashion. But I'll be honest, it caught me by surprise. Knowing, though, the current state of Battlegrounds, it also made me very wary. Because there have been far too many instances where I haven't even made it, half of that distance on other heroes that are better than Rakanishu. So my results at this point, I'm going to have to say, are inconclusive. But it was just one of those things that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try it. So it was kind of a pleasant surprise that it wasn't another 7th or 8th place. And that was when I was at that 6k, rating floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never played Rakanishu. I don't know. Maybe once I get up to the 6k floor and I know I can't drop it below that, mm-hmm. I might try some of these more interesting heroes. But I haven't played a lot of games to really just climb. I probably get in 2 games a day at this point, which is a decent amount, but I'm not climbing up you and your 100 games,
Hey,
100
hey,
plus
hey,
games.
that number has dropped, okay? I only have 22 on this patch.
Okay, this patch. Okay, but since Elementals came out, you have like 300 games.
That's not.
I probably haven't even played 100 games since the Elementals came out. It's just
Mhm.
like, and the crappy thing is a lot of times, I mean, this might be too much information, not really, but like I work from home now, so like I sit in my office chair, which is also my gaming chair, for 8 hours almost straight working.
Mhm.
When I'm done, I want to go sit in like my recliner and play. So I sit there and like I'll
Playing
play on
mobile.
my no, I'll play. I have my Mac
Mhm.
laptop, and I'll play on that, but I can't track any of it
Okay.
because like you need the add-on and stuff like that, and it's just um. I mean, I should probably look to see if that's a thing, but like if Deck Tracker has an app that I could download
If
for
not,
iOS,
if not that, maybe Firestone has one.
yeah, so I could track it that way. But like, I haven't been able to track any of my real stats
Mhm.
since the new patch came out. But yeah, I think I'm at 4K right now, but I'm climbing every day. Like that's one thing is I've actually I know for a fact over half my games have been top 4.
Well, good.
Well over half my games have been top 4.
Mhm.
So I still don't know how the ranking works. Like how like it's still confusing as shit. Like I mean, I in one game I had a 4th place and I got 5 points. Or no, I got 5th place, got 5 points. Another game I got 4th place, got -5.
Mhm.
So I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
They're like, wait a
So
minute,
wait a second,
that
but
doesn't add up.
yeah, I think we'll give it another week or two to see how this meta really falls out. And let's not beat around the bush. On Thursday, I'm sorry, on the 22nd. I'm not going to say Thursday because who knows when you're listening to this, but October 22nd, they're going to be doing the live stream of the new expansion
Mhm.
for Hearthstone with new game modes and all of that stuff, which will entail bringing in changes to Battlegrounds. Because anytime there's a major patch like that, so maybe we'll get another hero or two, or get some card changes,
Or get totems.
or to, let's not. I'm
One
not
is enough.
asking. I'm not asking for another warband this
Yeah.
early. I think they need
Mhm.
to work on elementals at this point.
Yeah.
Before that.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
that's the thing too, because it's like right now, I feel like for all the data that we have on the current patch, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Because as soon as the genie bug gets fixed, I feel like there's gonna be quite a few shakeups in the current ordering of things as well. So it's just like you can use it as a reference, but don't take it as gospel. You're muted.
I completely agree. Like once they fix that, but who knows when they will. Like
Mhm.
they may not fix it until the next Hearthstone expansion drops in 4 or 5 weeks.
Or it'll be on Thursday. You never know.
Or yeah, or it will. Well, the Hearthstone expansion won't drop Thursday
Well, yeah. Well, you know what I mean. I'm talking about like
because they do like
the hot
the
things.
reveals.
Mhm.
But there's a new game mode being announced on Thursday for Hearthstone. So if that goes live on Thursday, maybe they put that in there. Like,
Mhm.
so it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I expect some shakeups once that gets fixed too.
Absolutely. Now, outside of that, obviously, we had the EMEA Battlegrounds Cup that took place over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I watched 2 of the 3 days, and I have to say, like, if we're talking presentation for Battlegrounds, I was floored by how smooth everything was.
Mhm.
on this tournament. The amount of information that you got on screen was absolutely phenomenal. But before I talk about all that information, let me quickly go over the results here. You had the red team, which was RDU and Habu Gabu, who finished in first place with 67 points. And, on that final day, RDU was just winning everything. He had 4 first place lobby finishes. 5 out of the 8 were top, or actually 6 out of the 8 were top 4 finishes. So definitely carrying that particular team. You had Alexis Diesel and Oliak at 62 points, followed by Silvername and Gadumit at 56. And then you had Bootylicious and XQN finishing in 4th with 39 points. Now, when you guys were watching this, just the amount of information you got was really interesting because they didn't have like a standardized like overlay. So they kind of had like the game frame in kind of like a smaller window, where with the upper right hand corner they would list all the tribes, they would have the icons, and then it would just like mark out like whichever two weren't active in that current lobby. So, you would have that, you would have the focal point of the gameplay. And then in the lower left hand corner, you would have, the player cam for whoever they were spectating. And then above that, you had the stand ins of that current lobby. So it
Yep.
would entail everyone's position at that time. It would have their player name. It would have the hero icon for who they were playing. It would display their current health going into that round. And also what tavern tier they were at going into that round. And I know there were like some times where, when someone got knocked out, it took like 5 or 10 seconds for it to update, which is fine. But like, we always talked about how we were having an issue with what was actually being displayed to us, or just not having enough information on hand while we've been spectating some of these tournaments. And this one just blew everything else out of the water on that front. Now, that being said, because this was on the new patch, these players only had, 2 days really to prepare for the tournament. And it felt like each day, there were certain compositions that were kind of like getting out of hand. Like, I know early on it was a lot of Calicos builds. I didn't catch the second day, so I can't really say. But day 3 was definitely RDU running the show, and then people greeting a lot better as the day went along to try to combat him. But the amount of times RDU would just get that early genie and then just run shot, and then every time they would switch perspectives and see RDU knocking out another player, it felt like more than half the lobby in each round, which was pretty interesting to see. But all in all, like, this is exactly what we've been looking for, in regards to a tournament. So it's nice to see how even this early on within, kind of like the lifespan of custom games, like just how far some of these tournaments have progressed to this point. So it has me really excited for like what we'll be seeing here in the near future.
Yeah, it was definitely the best produced Twitch stream that I've ever seen, and none of it had to do with what was in game. This was all like the people who were doing the overlays for it and all that fun stuff, because that's really all it is it was updated overlays. And the reason you had a couple second delay on some of that stuff is because somebody was manually updating
Right.
it. So it will be interesting to see how, like, if they will implement this kind of stuff in the future, or if they will just ignore it. I guess is the thing, like ignore the spectator. But it was definitely the most well produced I've seen. As far as RDU, let's be real, RDU came in as the favorite, and like they're like, he didn't disappoint. Like,
Yeah, and
he came in as the favorite and he dominated the lobby.
I'll have to
Like,
timestamp some of his Jandis runs so you can see the level of token generator abuse that I was talking about.
yeah. But like, I want to throw it out to Alexis, Diesel, and Oliak right now in this because now granted they only had 2 first place finishes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Uh but they only finished 5 points behind. Like they finished 5 points behind RDU and Haguba.
Mm-hmm.
And so they played amazing. If RDU wasn't in there,
They would have won.
then uh, like if they had somebody 90% of RDU's skill, I think they would have won it.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of that just stems from the fact that Alexis and Oliak had gotten fairly consistently like top 4 finishes. Now, granted, most of them weren't first or second places, but they were still getting points um, every single lobby.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was also the case for Habu Gabu and RDU as well. But like, if you're talking about just levels of consistency, like throughout the day, those two teams were neck and neck. And really,
Yes.
the thing that kind of like caught them up at the end there were those final 2 lobbies when RDU didn't get his first place finishes, because in one of the games he finished in 7th place, and then the game after that Habu Gabu finished in 8th. So you had top 2 finishes for Alexis and Oliak, and Habu Gabu and RDU both got points, but like they were 3rd and 4th in those final 2, so kind of caught them up a little bit at the end. But for a while there, RDU had basically had just as many points, if not more, than like at least one team just as an individual. so it just seems like once he was going, like it was just off to the races at that point. And I will say the mulligan choices for RDU in particular were extremely kind throughout the tournament.
Yeah. If I keep looking at Buttalicious. Not Bootylicious, I think is that you call it. It's Buttalicious.
That's
what I'm calling him. I'm not calling him Bootylicious. That is reserved for Beyonce and no one else. Okay. I mean, not to knock him, because like, no offense, I could not do any better than he could.
Well, yeah, these are based off of EU ladder in some cases.
Yeah, but he didn't finish one game in the top 4.
Yeah.
Like, that's bad.
Yeah, he was the only one.
So it's just like, oof. Like, that team just did not do, like, I mean, his partner XQN had a decent, like, not great, but decent. Yeah, he had a win.
Mm-hmm.
He had the half his games were top 4 finishes. Like, they weren't gonna win, but damn, dude. You are like, XQN's like, his back hurts. Like, his back hurt carrying his teammate to a last place finish. That's not good thing to hear. So I'm excited for more of these. Like, it's good to have them in Europe, like to break them up regionally. I don't know if they're doing them over in Asia.
Right.
I would assume so, but like, that's a whole different like Hearthstone esports over there is different. Like, we don't know anything about it over there, because if we don't have international competition, there's no reason to know any of the top Hearthstone battlegrounders over there, because 1, we're not playing in their region, 2, we're not watching their streams, and 3, there's not international tournaments at this point. Right. So like, we don't know anything about them over there. Now, I know in regular Hearthstone there are some very dominant players over there. But as far as Battlegrounds go, we have zero clue, unless you're insanely obsessed with Hearthstone Battlegrounds, which, may God have mercy on your soul. But I want one of these international competitions where you get like North America, Europe, Asia, like they compete in these tournaments, and then the top 4 from each compete again. Like, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah, I can see that. But it's still really early on. So right now it's primarily just been regional competition. But definitely go check that out. I did link the final day VOD on in our Twitch chat for the YouTube one. And if you guys are looking for another way to find the tournaments, I have been including all the tournament VODs in the this week in Battlegrounds post that I've been doing on the Bob's Tavern subreddit, which is the unofficial Hearthstone Battlegrounds subreddit. So go check that out. I got that one up earlier today.
How they don't have an official Hearthstone Battlegrounds Reddit?
I know. And most of the Battlegrounds stuff just gets drowned out in the other Hearthstone subreddits, whether it's regular or competitive. But that's besides the point. At least we do have one place to go to, at least. But you can also find a bunch of podcast links in there as well for anyone that covers Battlegrounds or segments for Battlegrounds. So go check that out, and any upvotes on those posts would greatly be appreciated, so we can get some more visibility on that front, so we can get the word out to other community members. But outside of that, Ed, that's basically everything in a nutshell. Obviously, very curious to see what's going to happen on Thursday. I have no idea what that new game mode is going to be, so I don't know if it's going to be geared towards like single player or multiplayer. I don't know. But either way, I'm sure I'll be watching to see what sort of Battlegrounds announcements we are going to have on that front. But definitely, go check out the final day of the EMEA Battlegrounds Cup just to kind of like check out how all of that was presented. I feel like everyone will get a good kick out of that, and just watch RDU just completely wipe the floor with more than half the lobbies, which was fantastic. All right, well, that should do it then. So let's go ahead and close out the show for tonight. So if you guys want to help us out, please do us a favor and head on over to iTunes and write us a review. We're always looking for ways to improve the show. And of course, outside of that, we have a number of different ways how you guys can connect with both Ed and myself, as well as the podcast. So Ed, please let them know how they can do that.
Okay. So you can reach us through email at taverntalespodcast@gmail.com. We are on Twitter, and that's at taverntaleshs. We do stream live on Twitch at twitch.tv/taverntaleshs on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. We do have a Discord at at bit.ly/tavern discord. Sorry, I'm used to saying the Overwatch League one. You can follow me personally on Twitter, and that's at Ednar83, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/Ednar. Tell them, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me over on Twitter. That would be at TumblelyDrunk, as well as Twitch at twitch.tv/TumblelyDrunk. All right, guys. Well, that will do it for us tonight on Tavern Tales. This has been episode 32. Best of luck recruiting your minions. Hopefully you high roll, and Genie gives you everything you need. Because if not, we got to put Genie back in the bottle. And, that might be for the best, based off of just the current state of the game. Feels rough, man.
I'm a genie in a bottle. Should be the name of the next patch.
You just gotta keep it in the bottle. Same with that spilt milk or spoiled milk. Just throw that in the trash. We don't need that here in BGs. You guys take care. Have a good night, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
See ya.